Krabla. We spoke to him a little earlier on here on the show to really advise us as women and all the vulnerable groups as to go about protecting ourselves in difficult situations. But we continue, of course, on this note, reflecting on the 16 days of activism against women and children abuse. The rate of sexual violence in South Africa is amongst the highest in the world. South African police have often been accused by NGOs, women's and human rights groups, academics and media and some lawmakers of being insensitive to victims and also their slow pace in investigations. According to a report that was conducted a few years ago by the South African Medical Research Council, prosecutors declined to prosecute about 47.7% of the cases that were referred to them by the police due to the likely success rate based on the available evidence. And also, on the other hand, conviction rates from the reported cases are apparently low at under 10%. That's according to some independent studies. So we reflect on these and perhaps the work by the police once a rape case has been reported. We have now in studio with us Major General Bafana Linda. He is the Family Violence, Child Protection and Sexual Offences Unit Head. He joins us now live in our studios. Good afternoon to you, Major General. Thank you so much for coming through.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers, and thanks for having me here.
Thank you so much indeed. And you and I were having this discussion of air to say it's overwhelming now. A number of people that have been killed and raped in South Africa, it's just overwhelming. I know you've been an investigator, you've been with the SAPS for over 33 years. What could be behind all of this?
That's correct. This is a very difficult area of policy. We are talking about crimes within closed doors, crime within those dark alleys. And more so, the new spike now that we see in increase is crimes when women are killed within the hands of those who says who love them. I mean, your intimate murders and your femicide murders are also now becoming beyond the increase.
Let's just take, for instance, this case from Limpopo, a TVET college student who's been found murdered with about 52 stab wounds. What happens? What's the point of departure when the police gets to a scene of that nature?
Well, we have our investigators. As an investigator, we are trained on techniques in terms of approaching the crime scene and also later summoning our local criminal center record who comes on crime scene and who are technicians and crime examiners, and they will know what kind of evidence to obtain and collect from the crime scene, which will help us at the end of the day to use as leads and linkages in terms of tracing who might be the perpetrator of that kind of a
But how difficult or easy is that process? Because this incident happened on Sunday already, it's Tuesday today, but no one has been arrested.
Well, I came to the studio without having the updates of how far the investigation is, but I know that as soon as the matter was reported to the police, the investigation kicked on and they have to work on progress on the matter. And unfortunately, I came on the studio without having the updates of how far is the investigation. But I'm rest assured that there is specimen and crime scene exhibit that have been obtained, which have been forwarded to the forensic lab for analysis.
All right, so now back to the main reason why you're here today to talk to us about gender-based violence and how the police go about doing their job in this regard. If you could just break it down for us and bring it to our understanding, the work that the police do when dealing with gender-based violence cases.
Well, I think it's worth mentioning that on the 1st of June 2010, our department, SAPS, re-established the specialized units called FCS, Family Violence, Child Protection and Sexual Offences Investigation. We have 185 of these units countrywide who are specialized skills and also knows how to interview the victims of sexual offenses. So since then, we have seen some pocket of excellence in terms of convictions, whereby we are able to connect the serial rapist and be able to have them linked to the crime and be sentenced into a number of multiple sentences. We might see that the recent one in KZN, whereby the serial rapist was given 32 lives and 425 years. But since this, having mentioned these successes, We are also seeing a demand in terms of us upping our game and do things differently. In other words, we need to enhance our skills. As His Excellency has already indicated, that we need to have an action plan and do more than what we're supposed to do. We do also have the ministerial six-point plan, which look at dealing with the issues when women walk into a police station.
In fact, I want you to take us through that as to what happens when I walk into a police station to report rape. What should be the first step be? Right.
Once you walk into a police station to report a case of rape, you should be taken into a victim empowerment room of that particular police station, where then the details further of what happened or transpired then will be taken in private. Then you should be able to be subjected to a lay counseling. Then the FCS investigator must be activated to come and take over the statement, and the docket will be registered. Then the investigator will take that particular person to a medical, legal center or clinic, whereby the medical samples will be taken for the forensic analysis. Then furthermore, then the IO will have to make sure that after obtaining the details of the suspect and how crime was committed, go to the crime scene as well and obtain some evidence from the crime scene later and make sure that the suspect is being traced.
The reason for my question, Major General, when I asked you to sort of break it down for us as to how you operate is, there's been criticism that the police does not have the necessary capacity to deal with cases of rape, and there have also been concerns really that some rape cases are taking forever. What could be behind that? Why would a rape case where evidence is almost there take much time to complete?
Once again, this is a very difficult area of policy. Most of the time, there is no eyewitness that witnessed a rape case. So we rely on the information from the complainant and also what the complainant gives in the form of a statement that will lead us into following that information or some other leads which our methods later cannot disclose, then be able to track down that particular person. So some cases take not that long. Some take long because of the non-availability of information that can lead to the capture of the
and what about non-availability of resources like your rape kits? Because that was an issue in the recent past.
Well, I think we should draw a line between the rape kit and also the buccal swabs of the offenders. So on the rape kit, you have your D1 and your D7. One is for the children and one is for the adults. There is not even a single case during that period whereby a complainant was not being attended to. Yes, we had a shortage of the evidence collection kit, but we were able to take it from one station to another to assist because the FCS units are servicing more than one station.
But I think it wasn't the case in the Eastern Cape province. I think it was around last year this time where they were literally the entire province was out of rape kits. So a lot of people were saying that it means that victims of rape are being disadvantaged. They're being denied access to justice.
I can attest to say that there was not even a single complainant that was sent back, including the Eastern Cape. Yes, they were running short. They were not there in different stations, but they were able to borrow each other. The cases that we received is of all the cases reported. As the national head of the FCS, I never received such a report. The only report I have is that the buccal swab for the offenders, we did not have it and we ran dry in most of the provinces.
So I think that the main question here, Major General, is the SAPS winning the war of putting perpetrators behind bars? Talk to us about that. Contextualize it for us, and perhaps if you've got numbers to say this is the conviction rate of gender-based violence cases, so that people watching this interview can actually get a sense if the SAPS is really winning this war.
Well, I should be saying that gender-based violence is a global issue. And gender-based violence does not only start with the police. When you talk about the police, you are already entering the arena of being reactive. This should be starting from the proactive measures, where we should talk prevention. So this is a combination of partnership with the community. On the successes we have, is out of the partnership we have with the community. Coming to the issue of conviction, we had a pocket of excellency within this environment, but we are not saying we have arrived. And the other thing I want to mention about the pocket of our excellence that we have on successes that we have a live system. The live system, even though we are now cutting off on the 31st of March to measure and take stock of what we have already accumulated in terms of successes, but there's more cases which are at the court awaiting to be finalized in terms of the trial and conviction that might come through that. For example, we have more than 50,000 cases that are still on the court roll that need to be finalized. So to compare on a live system becomes a bit of a problem, because you can't stop the whole system and say, what do we have here?
All right, but are you convinced that the SAPS is doing all it can in terms of getting evidence? Because as I said on my introduction, at some point prosecutors had declined to work on cases, saying that there was some lack of evidence on those cases.
Well, I'm convinced that we're on the right path as a department, and we are committed to that. What is also exemplary to that is the establishment of the cold case stabilization project, which we are busy with, whereby we went back 2 years to look at the cases which were closed as undetected, review them with a prospect of taking back them to court. We also look at the issues of cases withdrawn by complainants and also by the court itself to say, can't we review them and see if the thorough investigation was conducted.
All right, we have to leave the discussion at this, but just before I let you go, the silly season is upon us. You advise really to women and children this festive season.
You know, it's a very sad part that we have to make children to take responsibility of their safety, that to tell them the do's and don'ts, instead of telling the perpetrators to stop their evil deeds. But I can say, we are in what call a festive season. We are saying to the community, please make sure that your children are playing at a place where you can be able to see them. And if they happen to go somewhere, they should be able to tell you where they're going to be playing, number one. Number two, we are saying to our parents and caregivers and also guardians to say we have to take a responsibility and make sure that as much as we enjoy our holidays and our bonuses, make sure that we also guard our children. And I'm also here to say that on the 25th of October, we did launch My SAPS app, where everybody else can also have access into the police stations and seek some help.
All right, time constraints, we'll leave it at this, but thank you so much for coming through.
You're welcome.
All right, Major General Bafana Linda is Family Violence, Child Protection and Sexual Offences Unit Head, talking to us about the gender-based violence and the work that the police do in terms of cracking cases. Quick ad break now. When we come back, Colin has your business news.